Earlier we reported on the overhaul of the Met in light of their original flawed investigation, but changes in the police aren't the only consequences of Stephen's murder. Reaction to his death, the desire to honour the memory of such a promising life cut short, have undeniably been a force for good. Charlene White looks now at Stephen's legacy.
A face that's become a symbol for both struggle and hope. These new photos of the young boy who was denied the chance to grow into a man, but whose image has gone on to define a generation.
We know who the killers are. We have watched them strut before us, as proud as sick Mussolini's.
Benjamin Zephaniah's 1999 poem reopened wounds and debate.
This whole affair inspired a lot of poetry. And now we know that the road to liberty is as long as the road from slavery. It made us as a community look at ourselves as well. One of the unique things about it, it showed you the racism from the police, not just the racist thugs on the street, but all these things kind of came together. But at the same time, we were able to look at ourselves and look at our children and just think about some very deep issues.
Our hope is that at the end of the day, we will establish what happened.
The play, The Colour of Justice, based on transcripts of the Macpherson report, captured the growing public anger.
To Mr. and Mrs. Lawrence, these years must have been dreadful.
Compelled by the report's findings, director Nicholas Kent was inspired to honour the family's fight for justice.
I think there's been an absolutely enormous legacy for race relations in this country. The institutional racism as a concept has been introduced into our society. I think a whole step change has taken place. I don't think it's enough. I think we'll all go on campaigning for many years to come, but I think it's at least made a big start, and because of Stephen Lawrence, things did change.
Have you had any thoughts over the week in regards to role models and their place in diversity?
The Macpherson report also recommended that the national curriculum in schools should be changed to reflect society by valuing cultural diversity, a change which is integral to the way that they teach here at St Matthew's Academy.
We use the Stephen Lawrence trial as a reference point, particularly in our citizenship lessons where we look at law and discrimination and racial policy.
The legacy can also be seen elsewhere in paintings such as this, No Woman, No Cry by Chris Affili, his tribute to the Lawrence family. So Stephen's imprint has been left in the arts, policing, schools, and led to a national conversation about race and discrimination. But Neville and Doreen have ensured a greater impact here at the Stephen Lawrence Charitable Trust.
What their heart was to say, is it possible that something good can come from something just immeasurably bad? And so the idea was to see if it was possible, if it were true, in fact, that life could spring from death. And so, of course, Stephen passed away, and his desire was to be an architect. And so although that was taken from him, what the Lawrence family have been able to do is to give it to other Stephens, as we call them.
So the future that Stephen dreamt of can now live on in others.
I think this is what he would wanted us to do, to continue to fight, to instill some of the things that he wanted as far as ambition and drive in kids, and just be an example. I look at my son and I hope that he walks the path and has the same ambitions that Stephen had. Not to be an architect, but just to want to do well, for your family and for yourself.
Elvin Aduro ending Charlene White's report on Stephen's legacy. And that is all from London tonight. On the day, 2 men were convicted of murdering Stephen Lawrence more than 18 years ago. We'll leave the final words of tonight's programme to Stephen's mother, Doreen. Good night.
Now that we have had some sort of justice, I want people to think of Stephen other than a black teenager murdered in a racist attack in southeast London in April 1993. I know this is a fact, but I now want people to remember him as a bright, beautiful young man who any parent of whatever background would have been proud of.